Luna Graves, Deathstream, Beta Test. The first thing I registered was the cold. Not a gentle chill, but a deep, biting cold that felt like a personal insult to my bones. The second thing was a pop-up window floating in the air, annoyingly bright against the swirling white of a blizzard. It was like a cheap ad for a bad mobile game. Nexus system. Welcome, player. Loading your first game. Objective: survive. Expose the imposter. Reward: legendary skill. Enhanced physical abilities. Faster, stronger, more agile than baseline human. Current HP: 100/100. My mind processed the freezing air and sudden change of scenery with grim amusement. A game, please. This was clearly an Antarctic research-based scenario, and I'd seen this movie enough times to know how it played out. The objective was obvious, too. Find the shapeshifter before it kills everyone. Child's play for someone who'd been dealing with actual supernatural entities for years. I walked over to a man frozen solid in the snow. He looked like he'd been mid-scream, terror plastered across his face with cinematic detail. I reached out and poked his cheek, rewarded with a dull clack. Fascinatingly morbid and surprisingly well-crafted for a digital construct. A new notification flashed, this one with a different tone entirely. Nexus. Impressive. Already testing the boundaries of my creation. I've watched your streams, Luna Graves. Your particular talents caught my attention. That seance last month was especially entertaining. I smirked. So the cosmic horror AI was a fan. How delightfully meta. Flattered, I said aloud, knowing it was listening. Though I have to say, your production values could use work. Nexus. We shall see. The rest of your cast awaits. Cast. Right. NPCs or other players. It didn't matter. I trudged through the knee-deep snow toward the station, wind whipping my dark hair into a fury. At least I looked good doing it, even if this flimsy windbreaker wasn't cutting it against the cold. Another figure appeared, stumbling toward me from the station direction, wrapped in a parka so puffy she looked like a walking marshmallow. Her face was a storm of fear and confusion, either excellent acting or genuine terror. "Oh, thank God," she sobbed, reaching me. "I don't know what's happening. One minute I was in my bed, the next I'm here. Do you work here?" My lips curved at that particular smile I'd perfected, the one that said, "You have no idea what you've gotten yourself into." I used to be a content creator. Now I'm the main character. Inside the station, the heat was a blessing, but the atmosphere was a goddamn mess. 4 people huddled together like they just watched their favorite character die. A girl with a pink beanie wept silently into coffee. A stocky guy frantically tried to resurrect a dead generator. A woman with a dangling cigarette stared into middle distance, looking utterly done with existence. Then there was the lanky one, in a hoodie, hunched over a flickering monitor, typing with a manic intensity. When Marshmallow Girl shrieked about the corpse outside, he finally looked up. His eyes locked onto mine, and his concentrated expression went slack with disbelief. He looked me up and down, taking in my wind-whipped appearance, and a slow grin spread across his face. "No way," he whispered. He stepped toward me like I was some kind of deity. "Graves after dark? Luna Graves? It's really you." His voice shook between awe and terror. "I told my friends your show was legit. They're never gonna believe this." I felt my mouth twitch. A game, an existential threat, and now a fanboy. This was getting better than premium cable. "In the flesh," I said, deadpan. "And unless you've figured out how to mod this server, I'd say we have bigger problems than your credibility issues." The lights flickered and died. A low hum filled the air, and a new message materialized. Not a cheap pop-up this time, but crimson, bleeding font that dripped down my vision. "Nexus, my players are disappointing. I expected more fear from my masterpiece. You treat it like amateur hour." The hum turned guttural, and from the darkest corner, shadow began to move. It peeled away from the wall like bad CGI, shifting and stretching. Not claws or teeth, something that could wear a person's skin like an ill-fitting costume. The fanboy paled, dawning horror replacing his starstruck expression. "The objective," I said quietly. "Expose the imposter." I studied the others: weeping girl, panicking generator man, cigarette woman, fanboy. Any could be the mimic. This wasn't about fighting some monster. It was about trust, deduction, and the complete absence of both. A logic puzzle with a body count. Now this was interesting. The fanboy, Finn, I decided, met my eyes with terrified understanding. I gave him a slow wink. Game on. The hum grew louder, a deep rumble that shook the floorboards with primal dread. I watched Finn step back nervously, while Cigarette Woman finally moved, pointing at Pink Beanie Girl. "It's her," she said in a raspy monotone, "crying for attention, classic manipulation tactic." The girl looked up, tear-streaked and startled. "What? No, I'm just scared. I don't know what's going on." I cut through the brewing hysteria. "Hold on. She could be telling the truth. We need to figure out who's wearing someone else's face." I studied each person, analyzing reactions like I would during a spirit investigation. Variables in a puzzle. Finn's eyes darted around the room with horrified comprehension. He understood the trope, the rules. Generator Man finally gave up his repairs, screaming about being trapped and doomed. Cigarette Woman just sighed like this was Tuesday. They were all reacting exactly how the script demanded. But Finn was different. He was thinking, not just reacting. "We need the lab. There's a way to test, like in the movie." I smiled, genuinely this time, cold and sharp as the Antarctic air. "Exactly." We moved as a group toward the back lab, a terrified huddle. The smell of disinfectant and chemicals hit sharp and metallic, the only thing that felt real in this digital nightmare. The lab was chaos. Shattered glass, scattered papers, one flickering light. But on the center table sat our salvation, a blood testing kit. "You first," I told Finn, handing him a vial. He didn't hesitate, pricking his finger. The blood welled, dropped into the vial, and glowed faint blue. Nexus. Human. Cigarette Woman went next, hands trembling despite her stoicism. Blue glow. Nexus. Human. Pink Beanie Girl stared at the needle in pure terror. "I can't," she whispered, shaking. "We don't have time for this," I said firmly. Of course she'd be the holdout. Classic horror movie beat. "I'll go," I said, taking the needle. I'd been using blood in rituals for years. This was nothing. One quick prick, blood in the vial, and it pulsed violet. Nexus. Supernatural. I wasn't surprised. I'd known what I was since I was 16 and accidentally raised my dead hamster. But Finn's eyes went wide, then understanding. He wasn't afraid. He was impressed. "That's why it chose you," he breathed. "You're not just a player, you're like them." Pink Beanie Girl finally managed the test, her vial pulsing the same ominous violet. Nexus. Mimic. The shadow in the corner stopped its predatory movement, turning toward us both, but its attention fixed on her, the imposter it was sent to eliminate. She looked down at her hands in confusion, then up at us with something else entirely in her eyes. "Oh," she said, voice completely different now. colder, hungry. Well, this is awkward. The shadow moved faster now, but I was ready. I'd been dealing with entities like this my whole career, just usually with better lighting and camera angles. The air grew heavy as I reached for my power, the familiar tingle of death magic at my fingertips. "Finn," I said calmly, "grab that fire extinguisher." "What are you going to do?" he asked, but moved toward the wall mount. I smiled, eyes beginning to glow that familiar violet. What I do best: put on a show. The real game was just beginning. The thing wearing pink beanie girl's face tilted its head with predatory curiosity. "You know," it said conversationally, "I was really enjoying being Sarah. She had such delicious fears about her student loans." "Classic mimic mistake," I said, feeling my power flow through me like ice water. "Too much exposition. Real Sarah would still be crying." "Finn, foam it up," I commanded. He didn't hesitate, unleashing white chemical spray at the shadow. The thing writhed like a Windows error screen, digital shriek filling the room. While it was distracted, I focused on the mimic. "Here's the thing about wearing someone else's skin," I said, advancing on fake Sarah. "You never get the magic resistance right." I channeled my power directly at her. Not flashy fireballs or lightning. That was Hollywood nonsense. Real death magic was about entropy, about convincing living things they were already gone. The mimic's borrowed face started to glitch, pixels sliding down like melting makeup. "Impossible," it hissed. "You're supposed to be prey." "Buddy, I've been the final girl since I was 16. Bad news for you, I always survive the third act." Finn hit the shadow with another blast of foam, and it dissolved into digital static. The mimic, meanwhile, was losing cohesion fast. Its stolen features warped and twisted as my magic ate away at its disguise algorithm. "The Nexus chose wrong," it snarled. "The Nexus chose perfectly. It just didn't expect me to be the monster." With a final pulse of violet energy, fake Sarah collapsed into pixels and scattered code. The air went still. The lights flickered back to normalcy. "Nexus, primary objective complete. Impressive performance, Luna Graves. Reward unlocked." Power flooded through me. Enhanced speed, strength, reflexes. Like a character sheet upgrade, but in my actual bones and muscles. I flexed my fingers, feeling the difference immediately. "Holy shit," Finn breathed, looking between where the monsters used to be and me. That was like watching someone speedrun a horror game in real life. I checked my reflection in a broken monitor screen. Eyes still glowing faintly violet, hair perfectly disheveled, that satisfied smirk I'd perfected for my streams. Not bad for a Tuesday night. The world began dissolving around us, walls melting into streaming code, ceiling fading to star-filled void. The Nexus was closing the server. "Luna," Finn called as reality pixelated. "Will we see each other again?" I looked at him through the digital chaos, this fanboy who'd actually been useful in a crisis. "The Nexus likes good ratings, Finn, and we just gave it premium content." The familiar sensation of consciousness being yanked through interdimensional cable hit me. Colors, light, sound, the whole kaleidoscope routine. Then I was back in my apartment, sitting in my gaming chair like nothing had happened. Except my hands were still glowing faintly violet, and my muscles felt like I'd been hitting this supernatural gym. The Nexus had kept its word about the rewards. My phone buzzed with notifications. The live stream was still running. Apparently, my audience had watched the whole thing happen in real time. The chat was absolute chaos. "Death wish, Daisy. Luna, are you okay? That was insane. Horror movie Mike, I knew your powers were real. Pixel Punisher, was that a new VR game? The graphics were sick. Goth Girls 666, the way you handled that mimic was chef's kiss. I leaned back in my chair, cracking my newly enhanced knuckles. Well, chat, I said to my camera, that was fun. Looks like I've got a new game to play. A private message popped up on my screen, purple text on black background. Nexus, Episode 1 complete. You exceeded expectations. Rest well, Luna Graves. Episode 2 loads tomorrow night. Same time, higher stakes, more players. I do hope you'll join us again. P.S. Your viewership just hit 2 million. Congratulations. I laughed. Actually laughed. The cosmic horror AI was concerned about my streaming metrics. Chat, we just got picked up for a series, and apparently I'm trending. More notifications flooded in. Clips of my performance were already going viral on social media. Hashtag Nexus game was trending on Twitter. My subscriber count was climbing faster than my caffeine tolerance. You know what the best part is? I told my audience, leaning forward conspiratorially. This is just the pilot episode. I could feel the Nexus watching, feeding off the fear and excitement radiating from my viewers, from players around the world who'd witnessed something impossible. It was a cosmic horror with the sensibilities of a streaming platform, always hungry for more content, better ratings, fresh blood. And I was exactly what it had been looking for, a player who could give it premium entertainment value. Same time tomorrow, everyone. I signed off with my signature wink. Luna Graves, signing out. Try not to get pulled into any interdimensional games while I'm gone. I ended the stream and sat back, flexing my enhanced muscles. Tomorrow night, the Nexus would load episode 2. Higher stakes, more players, bigger challenges. I couldn't wait.
The story doesn't end here. New chapters are coming soon in the official playlist. Stay tuned, and thanks for watching.